I need to go up. Hey everybody, welcome to the Fairy Vibrant Makeup channel. I'm going to do a series called Versus. I do have like a lot of makeup that I've been wanting to kind of put up against my high-end makeup. So I do have a couple of things. This is going to be my first Versus series. I kind of started it when I was still living in Colorado. However, yeah, I just didn't film intros, outros. It was just a mess. So I decided to just redo it over. So I'm restarting it pretty much. This is like my third video of it, but this will be my first video for you guys. So that way it can be a little bit better. Okay, so the Versus challenge that I have here today for my first one for you guys is going to be the Subculture palette versus the Makeup Revolution. This is called the Reloaded Iconic Division palette. There's a huge price difference. I know I had gotten my Subculture palette when it first launched, and I really like the colors. A lot of people hated this palette just because it was hard to use. There was a lot of kick up with it, a lot of like, you know, it's pressed pigments, guys, so that's why it's so powdery. It's just pure pigments. But a lot of people didn't like the kick. A lot of YouTubers reviewed it. All these high, you know, subscriber count YouTubers said, oh, it's terrible, it's patchy. However, you have to think about it like the color wheel. You can't really blend out a teal and a yellow. Like, you can't use a yellow to blend out the teal because they are opposite sides of the spectrum. One's a cool color, one's a warm color. So you have to look at it in the color wheel. Always think of makeup as a color wheel. There's always going to be, when it comes to eyeshadows, when it comes to color correctors, you have to see what's opposite of the color wheel, and that kind of cancels each other out. So that's pretty much why I experienced patchiness the first time I used it, is that I did try to blend it out with opposite spectrum colors, and that's why it didn't blend out as well as I wanted to. So the trick to really blending this out nicely is to use a lot of good base colors. I typically start my crease color with Dawn, and then I'll go into Roxy, and then I'll kind of blend it a little bit with Edge. And then I'll just kind of use those three colors, whatever look I'm going for, to really kind of create that base and make it more blendable. Then if I want to go on with Axis, which is a hard color to do, or Rowdy, that one's a really hard color to blend out just because it's pure pigment and it's very dark. What I'll do is I'll go very slowly. I'll go with Rowdy and kind of just place and blend, and then I'll kind of blend it out with All Star just a little bit, or even Fudge just a little bit, so that I can get a smoother transition. So this is a tricky palette to use, but I did want to put it up against the Makeup Revolution, which is similar to it. And I'm pretty sure this isn't pressed pigments, because this is only like a $7 palette versus this one for, I think this one was retailed at $42, I believe. That's the retail price for it. But I do like Anastasia shadows. They're very blendable and pigmented. I have four of them to be exact. I have the Modern Renaissance, which this was actually a first one that I did in my Versus challenge, but I will redo this one with the palette that I saw. And then I do have the Prism palette, the Subculture, and then the Soft Glam palette. Soft Glam doesn't really have a dupe for it yet, but I'm pretty sure Makeup Revolution will come out with one. But I just wanted it, especially for those who are scared of the Subculture palette. I feel like maybe the Makeup Revolution would be a best option. If you like the color scheme of the Subculture, you can definitely kind of reach for the Makeup Revolution. But I want to put it up against each other to see if they are similar. So let's go ahead and get through the palettes and see what the similarities are, and then we'll try it on. So here are the palettes together, side by side. As you can see, the similarities are there. There are a lot of teals, but I feel like the teals aren't as dark. Maybe a little bit lighter than the Subculture palette, but there's yellows. There's only like one yellow actually. No, there's two yellows. One is a little bit more like peachy yellow. It's weird. It does have a bronze, just like Adorn. It does have a kind of like, it's not duochrome, it's more of like a metallic light green to, I guess, dupe Electric, which was a very hard color to use. To be honest with you, Cuban Electric are my least favorite colors in the palette because they're very, they're pressed differently because they are duochromes. They're not as pigmented. It looks like a duochrome similar to Cube. Looks like there's a lot of good similarities. They're just arranged a little bit differently. So there are the palettes side by side, as you can see. They are very similar. And then we're going to go ahead and I will swatch them on my arm. And then I will do a try on. So I'll do the swatches first. I'll do the Makeup Revolution first. No, I'll do the Subculture first, then the Makeup Revolution. And that way you can kind of see side by side what they look like on the arm swatch. I will not do brush swatches because that takes up more time. However, I am going to try it on my eyes. So as you can see, I have no primer, nothing on my eyes because I'm actually going to take a cheap primer and a higher end eye primer and just compare them as well. Might as well do that. So let's go ahead and zoom you in and let's try on the palettes. Alright, so the two primers that I'll put together, and I'll put, I think, the high end on my right eye and then the lower end on my left eye. So I have the Urban Decay. This is the Eyeshadow Primer Potion in Eden, which is my favorite eyeshadow primer. And then I have the Ulta Beauty, let's see, Nude Matte Eyeshadow Primer. So let's go ahead and try these guys on. The difference is that the Urban Decay is a little bit more yellow. Urban Decay does have an applicator wand, and then of course the Ulta Beauty is going to have more of a squeezy tube. This is the smaller version because I actually got it in gratis a long time ago, but this one is a little bit more peach and a little thicker in consistency. So I'm going to spread out Eden with my finger. I don't like using the applicator. Never really like using the applicator to apply my primer just because it is not very even. I don't think I like the brush very much. So I like using my fingers so I can really get in there and base out my eyes. So as you can see, they both blend very nice. And they kind of blank out my eyes so that I can put you know, the eyeshadows on a little bit better. Alright, so let's get into it. I have very limited brushes right now because I need to wash my brushes, so I'll do my best. I'm going to go ahead and start with Makeup Revolution. I'm going to use, they don't have colors, so I'll use this shade right here to blank out my eyes because I usually like using a shade either a little bit lighter than my eyes or equal to my eye color or my skin color so that I can kind of set my primer down. And I'm just using like a Sonia Kashuk brush. This is supposed to be a concealer brush, but it's a little scratchy for a concealer, so I don't use it for that. Okay, so that's blanked out. I think it blanked it out very nicely. Now let's use the same brush. I'm going to use Dawn, and that's going to be in the Subculture palette. Wow. Do you see the difference? In the Subculture palette, this one is more of a transition shade rather than a base shade. So the Makeup Revolution one is significantly lighter. Do you see the difference? And that's supposed to be dupes. So they're not really exact. This one's more of a transition shade, and this one's more of like, I think, a base shade for like medium skin tones. So if you're lighter skin tone, you can definitely use this one for a crease shade, and this one can be a crease shade as well, but it's just going to be a lot. Alright, so stepping into the palette more, I do use a couple of crease shades. I'm going to be starting with the Makeup Revolution one again, and I'm going to be using this peach color, which is equal to Roxy. And I'm going to be using a Morphe brush. Alright, so this is the Makeup Revolution side. This blends out very well. So you can see it's very soft and it blends really well. It's pretty pigmented as well. I'll dip back into that base shade right there to kind of blend out Roxy just a little bit more. Only problem with this palette is it doesn't have a brow bone color, so that's a little bit more difficult. You have to kind of pull from another palette to really make that color. So I'll always pull from my Modern Renaissance palette, but I won't do that today. Okay, so now going into Roxy from the Subculture palette, and I typically like to just place like this, just a little bit, just press the brush into it, because can you see how pigmented that is? All you need is to just press your brush into it very lightly, and then you'll get enough pigment to blend it out. So the Roxy is a little bit darker, but Roxy does blend very well. I'll dip back into Dawn, same process, and kind of blend out Roxy just a little bit. As you can see, the Subculture side is significantly darker than the Makeup Revolution. So you're actually going to get the same kind of look, I think just less pigment. So if you're scared of the pigments in the Subculture, I definitely would recommend using the Makeup Revolution at this point. Shade in the Makeup Revolution. So I am going to I want to use my same blending brush just because I know for the Subculture, it's going to be one of those colors that I'm going to have to place and blend. So let's go ahead and put this on the outer corner. I'm just placing it, just kind of cleaning off the brush a little bit and then blending it out. And yes, I know I have opposite spectrum colors in my crease, but at least it lays down a smoother foundation for this color. However, I would blend out the edges with a color similar to that one in the same kind of like color family. So I'm just lightly, and this does have a lot of kick, so this does have a lot of pigment. So I'm just placing and kind of softly blending that. Don't worry, I'll clean it up. But I think I'm going to have to get another blending brush now since I've dirtied that one. Let's see what I have. Alright, let's do this one. This one's just a little dirty, but not too bad. I'm going to take this shade right here to blend out those edges. It's like similar to, what's the shade called again? Destiny in the Subculture palette. So this one will be used to kind of blend out those edges. And I think this teal is a little bit difficult just because it's so difficult to blend. Actually, no, I think this one is similar to Untamed. It's not really similar to Destiny, so I might have to pick up Destiny, or not Destiny, but that shade that's closer to Destiny, because I feel like this is too dark. I like totally blew out my crease like crazy. I always do that. But don't worry, I'm going to blend everything together. It'll make sense. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the Subculture palette. Take that same brush that I used to place that darker teal, and this is Access. This has a lot of pigment, so you have to be very careful. This one I like. This one I feel like places and blends just a little bit better than this shade. This is like intense. And I feel like my crease colors are a lot darker, so it's easier to see where my crease colors are. And see how that blends? It blends out really nice. See, all you have to do is just place and blend. I think I used a different technique as well. So I better go back into this and get that darker teal and just kind of do the same. Oh, do you notice that? There's some patchiness to that. It's probably because of technique. It all boils down to the technique. Alright, so I'm going to take this brush and dip into that one lighter shade that I did base out my eyes in and just kind of tone down this teal because I feel like it's way too high. Seems to blend it out really nice, so that's good. That way it's nice and blended, and don't worry, I will fix this eye because I feel like this eye is really bad. Alright, so I'll take that same technique and blend out Axis. And this is where it gets a little crazy because if you put too much, you'll see the choppiness right there. So what I'll do is I'll go back into Destiny. I'll go Destiny in the Subculture and just blow out my crease just a little bit more. And then take that brush, because I forgot that I needed to take that color and put it more in the crease, and then just tone this down a little bit more. But see, it's hard to do it with Dawn because Dawn is darker. Do you see the difference? Okay. Now I'm going to take, I think I'm going to do this shade right here. It's not exactly like Electric, but it's similar. So I'm going to take that into the inner portion of my lid. Ooh, that brush did not do it well. I'll use my finger for that because I'm going to have to use my finger for Electric. Ooh, it's just pure sparkle. It's really not translating well. So you really have to press it on the eye to get it to show. Now I'll go into Electric, which is going to be drastically different because this one is more of a duochrome. And I'm going to use my finger to place it. And the difference is definitely there. See that difference? I might have to put a little bit, after I review this palette, I'll put a little bit of Electric on this side because I cannot go to work with lopsided eyes. So I feel like this eye needs to be warmed up more. I'm really struggling with this palette. That looks a little bit better. Then I'll take a little bit more of that warmer peach shade and just kind of warm this up a little bit. Just to kind of mimic that. Then I'll take this shade right here and just kind of mix the two together so it's not so harsh. Okay, I guess I got it. Put a little bit more of that green though. And then go back into my Subculture, do the same technique. I'm going to take Untamed right there. Untamed is just a little bit lighter. I'm going to go further in to blend the colors. Okay. Alright, so I had to do the rest of my face off camera just to speed things up. I am going to take, let's see if I have, this kind of smudger brush, and I'm going to take a, let's see, I think I want to do this color right here. Just kind of blend it underneath. It's not bad. Okay, and then I'm going to blend out that color with this kind of marigold in the Makeup Revolution palette. Ooh, I blew it out a lot. So I'm gonna have to kind of take that in and blend it. These are a little bit, I think, difficult to work rather than the Subculture palette. I feel like the Subculture palette's easy for me. I don't know why. Okay, so that same color would be Rowdy, except Rowdy's a lot darker. So I'm just going to get the tiniest bit. See how dark that is? It's significantly darker. Then take New Wave, which is this Their Marigold, and blend it underneath. Just kind of connect those colors. It's not my best work. It looks really bad. I know. Let's see if I can recover this. There we go. Alright, so I am going to finish my eyes with an inner corner color, and I'll use this color right here that's supposed to be light cube. It's not picking a lot up. Yeah, it is very similar to cube. It's got that pink duochrome iridescent finish, but it's very, very like tough. It's pretty much the same consistency as cube, because cube is very, very tough to work. It's very stiff in the pan. The only thing is it always puts chunks on my eyes just because it's so thick. I think cube's a little bit pinker. Alright, so I'm going to finish the eyes off camera, or finish the rest like mascara and everything. Then I'm going to give you my overall thoughts. Alright, so as far as I feel like the Subculture performs way better than the Makeup Revolution palette, just because the colors are a little bit more pigmented. I feel like this one is very muted. I mean, if you like it softer and not as pigmented, I can totally recommend this to other people that don't like a lot of pigment and have to work to blend it out. However, I love my Subculture palette. I love the way it looks. I love the way it blends. It just takes a little bit of patience for that. The Makeup Revolution is not, I mean, it's really not there for me, at least in my personal experience. It does blend out okay, but I feel like the colors are very muted. So if you like that color in the Subculture, if you want those bold teals, you will have to be more patient to work with it. If you don't want that much color but want the same similar color range, then I would go with the Makeup Revolution. This guy is only like, I think, $7. This guy is $42, so yes, this is significantly less. However, this one, you're getting your money's worth. So who's the clear winner in this for me? I would say the Subculture palette. Not a lot of people will agree with me just because a lot of people have had bad experience with the Subculture palette, but I absolutely love the way it blends. You just have to be patient and you have to use the right base colors and the right technique in order to get it down to being that perfect palette. I feel like the Makeup Revolution is not at all what I thought it would be. I mean, for the price, you're going to get what you pay for. $7 or so, and you're going to get a mediocre palette. It is just not, it's not that. I think it's just a waste, to be honest with you. I would probably put this into my makeup kit if anyone wanted to use a Subculture palette for their eyes, but I don't really, because I'm kind of building a little makeup kit just in case, you know, I were to have fun with it. But yeah, I would probably just put that in there instead of using my actual Subculture palette, because this is mine. Yeah, I don't like the Makeup Revolution at all. So clear winner is the Subculture palette. I definitely think that this one is worth the price because you're getting pure pressed pigments and you're getting very good color payoff. I feel like this eye looks significantly better than this eye, and it could be too that I used different technique on this eye. I mean, well, the slightest different technique, so that's probably why it blended a little bit better. But honestly, I thought this would blend a little bit easier, but it didn't. I will even out my eyes before I go to work, but yeah, so that's my overall thoughts on the Subculture palette versus the Makeup Revolution Reloaded Iconic Division palette. This is supposed to be a dupe of the Subculture. Now, if you are starting off in makeup, don't know how to do it, just want those same colors and beautiful teals and golds and yellows, then yeah, I would say go with Makeup Revolution, because you're not quite a pro yet, but you want to start getting there. This would start you off if you want to get into that subculture category. Yeah, so that's the end of my video. I hope you guys enjoyed this versus challenge. I will be doing a couple more, and if you have any ideas or thoughts on a high-end versus a low-end, let me know. I'll see if I have it in my collection, and then I will definitely search it out and see what I can find that's dupes, or if you have any dupes in mind, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!